Women, like men, only cheaper. Don't laugh. That's a meme going round since the news that almost 5 decades after the Equal Pay Act, women are still paid on average 18% less than the chaps. In the city, the average pay gap is 60%, with estimates suggesting men get paid twice as much as women at some investment banks. Even in Westminster, female MPs get less too. By the start of April, companies with more than 250 staff have to report their gaps in pay and bonuses. The results so far are predictably predictable. It's the same old story. So far, Britain's bosses haven't been minding the gap, they've been ignoring the law. But is this a failure of the market or of society? Whoever's to blame, something must be done.
Rachel, here. I completely agree with everything you said there. The issue is, I don't think an audit goes far enough. I think we actually need legislation. I think there needs to be some sort of levy. I think companies that break or aren't transparent should be penalised. I think we've got to hit them in their wallets. That's the only thing that companies understand. And actually, all of the research and data shows that when you pay women what they are worth, it's better for society, it's better for GDP. I mean, there was a great report by McKinsey which said that they could actually add an extra $28 trillion to global GDP if women were paid at the same rates as men.
And I can't remember how big the actual figure of the gender pay gap deficit is, but it's in the billions.
Billions.
Nick, today, actually, a Labour MP suggested that they should fine companies for lack of transparency, and many of the companies that should have reported have not yet.
That Labour MP is, of course, that Labour MP is Dawn Butler, who was on my radio show this morning. She is the Shadow Minister for Women and Equalities. I think most of the time, you're banging on open door, everybody would agree. You mentioned banking also. I won't name the companies because they're not here to defend them, but some of the companies involved in the tourism industry, ridiculous, 2.5 times more if you are a bloke than you get a woman. So that's wholly wrong. A couple of things occur to me. I thought there was legislation that made this illegal, sort of 10 years ago. Everybody had...
Tons of it.
Clearly they've not...
Well, as I said, ignoring the law.
So they're doing that.
Yeah.
In Iceland, the company gets fined a set amount each day. So they do the audit, and if you don't act on it, you're fined an equivalent of £350 per day for every day you go and breach, which I reckon. The only thing is that in some industries, let's just say that we're all air stewards or air stewardesses or whatever we are, I get it. In an industry such as the one in which I've grown up, and indeed Greg used to run, and the BBC have got itself in all sorts of problems, that is what worries me, because in some industries you must pay by ability, not just by gender.
No, of
so
course,
let's not lose that.
There's an apples and pears context to this whole debate, which I think we all understand, but I think that it still goes beyond that, doesn't it, Carol? Even though we've got British Prime Minister, you know, British head of... I'm sorry, female head of state, female everything.
I mean, a couple of things occurred to me as well. There was a report about pay in Parliament this week, which I thought was quite misleading, actually, because it said that men get paid on average 10.4% more than women, which they do. But when you look that more closely, the killer line in that survey was that despite the fact they all have the same basic salary, the gap comes because some men have other jobs as well.
Yeah, that's an earnings-related point. So even in Parliament, even if our legislators are getting underpaid...
But the point of that is that women... This is because men have more than one job. Of course. And women...
Because they can.
Because they can.
More
but
of
women can...
Disproportionately Tory men. If you actually look at the
Well,
the Labour Party...
Because they work hard, let's be honest with that.
How many Labour MPs would you want on your board, anyway?
Oh, my goodness.
Quite right, too.
Let you finish your point, because I've got a special delivery for the panel after you make your point, so make it a quick one,
I was going to say,
Carol.
there are some industries where women actually earn very much more. In parts of Tesco's...
Not many.
In Tesco, great.
Wait a minute.
They got that to look forward to.
We've got to talk about low-paid women, because they're the ones that really bother me. People in the city on 5, 6, 7-figure salaries and bonuses, they can fight their own battles. So there are some areas where companies are actually getting it together. I mean, that could
But that's the minority.
But right, panel, I think we're going to have a special delivery which actually really graphically explains the pay.
Hello. All right. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Greg. You all right there? There you go. All right. There's one for you, Mr. Nick. There
Thank you very much indeed. Postman Pat there.
Yeah. These are paychecks. This is a paycheck. Well, there's none for me. I'm on you.
Typical Sky, isn't it?
Right.
OK, guys, do you know what that explains?
Yes. We're working for
Someone
free.
forgot to put something in the envelope.
Women effectively work for free 2 whole months of the year.
Yeah.
Up to now, we've been working for free, and you boys have been being paid.
Yes.
That is basically what the 18% pay gap between the sexes amounts to.
Yeah.
So that's your payday, and we get paid going forward.
We do work
The
for
drinks
free,
are on
Michelle,
you
don't we?
two.
I thought we did. I thought we did this for love.
Yes.
Doesn't that bring it
know the
home to
point.
you?
Greg, you don't need that original.
Greg,
Yes.
let
You
me
don't need
explain
that.
the
Yes,
point.
the
Because
point-
of the 18%
Yeah.
pay gap deficit between men and women, we effectively work for free up to today.
But
Yes.
Rachel, no one disagrees. I don't think anyone disagrees. And we've made the points, and quite rightly you've made your points, and I've pointed out that in some instances you pay by ability. You can't just pay
Yes.
because you're...
But do you agree with legislation? Do you
Absolutely.
think we need to
I want to...
But we have legislation.
But I mean, legislation that's actually fit for purpose.
Yeah.
No, but isn't part of the problem? There are still jobs that
Yeah.
are seen as women's jobs, and they tend to get paid less.
Less,
than
for
the
sure, yeah.
men's jobs. I mean, you had this
Yeah.
very interesting case in Birmingham City Council, didn't you? Where
Yes.
actually they demonstrated that the woman's job
Yes.
was as valid as the man's
Yes.
job, and therefore,
Yep.
and it's almost bankrupted the
And
council.
you
Why,
have
what?
the same...
Explain it a bit more.
Well,
Greg.
because they went to a tribunal, the union took them to a tribunal, and the tribunal decided that women, that job, that was largely done by women, was
equal.
worth as much money as that job that was largely done by men, and they backdated what they were owed
This is
for several years.
Let me bring in a grab here. This is Fiona Haythorne, who's MD of Women on Boards in the UK.
I personally don't believe they're breaking the law with regard to paying people to do the same job but paying them different amounts of money. It's largely because women in general have tended to be recruited to the back office rather than the front office, and the front office tends to be where the higher paid trading opportunities are. So what you are finding is the investment banks are working hard to make sure, I hope in future, that they're going to be doing better talent management, they're going to be looking at how they recruit women and also how they promote women within.
I mean, that's kind of what you were saying. I mean, I have to say, you know, when you read about some of the salaries that people get in the city, I don't suppose many people on a council estate in Hull are going to be too bothered about that, the fact they're on 6- or 7-figure salaries. But it's kind of what you're saying. Women get taken on for jobs that aren't as high profile.
But also...
Sorry, Jude. Sorry.
No, but just to say, but also one of the real problems is the fact that there aren't enough women in positions of leadership to actually bring... No. In terms of the FTSE, there are only 7 female FTSE CEOs. There are 17 men just called John.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
There's
come on.
there's an interesting figure that if you look, that only 3% of CEOs in the world's largest companies are women.
There you go.
500
See,
companies.
the one thing no one has discussed...
What?
John and Joanna are not the same in many instances because they're not going to have the same level of experience. Because highly likely that Joanna would have had some time to go and have a family, which is wonderful.
Oh, but
and they... So, hold on. If you then take 2 years out or whatever...
And John
you
didn't
don't have
take
the
his
same...
statutory paternity leave
because
he decided that she was going to step up the career track and he was going to...
My eldest daughter lives in Sweden. In Sweden, and she's just about to have her second child. She's going to take 6 months, and then her husband takes 6 months. It's automatic.
How much paternity leave did you take, Nick?
The afternoon.
Yes, men don't take paternity leave.
Yes.
No.
And we need
They should get back to work to earn the money to pay for the baby.
What we need to address is the fact the Fawcett Society produced some figures that said that the real problem area
It's
with
equal
women
value.
is it's in with Bangladeshi and Pakistani women who earn 26% less than guys, and also Black African women 24% less than guys. I mean, that's shocking.
I mean, it is International Women's Day, but let's focus on Britain. And in this country, one of the newspapers started a campaign today which basically said that women who want to start businesses get 10% of the funding that men who want to start businesses
I co-signed
So the idea
that
that we
letter in the
can
Telegraph,
seed the corporate culture with more women is actually is strangled at birth by the fact that banks aren't giving women money to start their businesses.